Taylor Swift has always been known for her meticulous approach to her music career, treating each album not just as a collection of songs but as a deeply personal chapter in her life story. In a recent candid revelation, the global superstar opened up about a cherished ritual she performs every time before unleashing a new body of work into the world. This tradition, far from being a glamorous red carpet event or a high-energy listening party, is an intimate and introspective act that underscores her profound emotional investment in her artistry. Swift shared that, without fail, she dedicates time to listening to her entire previous album from start to finish, essentially hosting a private farewell ceremony to bid adieu to the era that album represented. It's a moment of closure, a way to honor the journey that brought her to that point and to make space for the new narrative she's about to embark on. Imagine the scene: Swift, perhaps curled up in her home studio surrounded by the echoes of her past creations, pressing play on the opening track of her most recent prior release. For her latest project, the aptly titled The Life of a Showgirl, this meant immersing herself once again in the haunting melodies and raw confessions of the Tortured Poets Department. That album, with its stark, black and white aesthetic and themes of heartbreak and introspection, had been born out of a particularly turbulent period in her life. While on the road for her record-shattering Eras tour, a whirlwind of sold-out stadiums, fan adoration and relentless performance demands, Swift found herself grappling with feelings of misery and isolation. The tour, which spanned continents and captivated millions, was a triumph in every measurable sense, yet behind the sequins and spotlights, it was a cauldron of emotional intensity. Writing the Tortured Poets Department became her outlet, a poetic exorcism where she poured out verses that dissected love's fractures, personal betrayals, and the quiet ache of self-reflection. Tracks like those delving into fleeting romances and the sting of public scrutiny resonated deeply with listeners, turning the album into a cultural touchstone for anyone who's ever felt the weight of unspoken sorrows. But as the Eras tour drew to a close and the dust settled on that chapter, Swift knew it was time to evolve. The Life of a Showgirl emerged as a deliberate counterpoint, an explosion of color and exuberance that couldn't be further from the somber tones of its predecessor. Where the Tortured Poets Department evoked dimly lit rooms and whispered regrets, this new album bursts forth with bedazzled costumes, feathered boas, and the electric pulse of showbiz glamour. It's as if Swift traded in her ink-stained notebooks for a wardrobe of sparkling ensembles, channeling the high-kicking energy of a Vegas revue or a Broadway spectacle. The album art alone tells the story. Vibrant hues splash across the cover, featuring Swift in outfits that shimmer under imaginary stage lights, evoking an era of unapologetic revelry and self-reinvention. Musically, it's a tapestry woven from upbeat anthems about empowerment and fleeting joys, laced with the sophisticated pop flourishes that have become her signature. Collaborators whispered about in industry circles hint at surprise features from rising stars in the dance-pop scene, blending Swift's lyrical prowess with beats that demand movement. Yet, beneath the glitz, there's a thread of vulnerability, acknowledging that reinvention isn't effortless but a hard-won triumph over one's own shadows. During her appearance on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, Swift unpacked this ritual with the warmth and wit that endears her to fans worldwide. "I listen to Tortured Poets Department to say goodbye to it. I do it every time," she confessed, her voice carrying the weight of genuine reflection. Fallon's studio audience leaned in, captivated by this glimpse into the mind of an artist who treats her discography like chapters in an ongoing autobiography. It's not mere sentimentality. For Swift, this practice is a cornerstone of her creative sustainability. In an industry that often chews up and spits out its brightest talents, her ability to pause, reflect, and ritually close one door before opening another speaks volumes about her longevity. She's not just releasing music, she's curating a legacy, ensuring each phase builds on the last without overshadowing it. This ritual allows her to trace the arc of her growth, from the wide-eyed storyteller of her country roots to the genre-defying icon who commands global stages. Delving deeper, one can see how this tradition mirrors broader themes in Swift's oeuvre. Her career has been marked by bold reinventions, the shift from Nashville's twangy ballads to New York's indie folk introspection in Folklore and Evermore, or the synth-pop euphoria of 1989. Each pivot has come with its own emotional labor, and this pre-release listening session serves as a bridge between eras. For The Life of a Showgirl, revisiting the Tortured Poets Department wasn't about wallowing in past pain but celebrating the alchemy that turned misery into magic. Swift has often spoken about how her most potent work stems from emotional extremes, joy's highs and sorrow's lows fueling lyrics that cut straight to the soul. During the Eras tour, amid the adrenaline of performing hits spanning 2 decades, She channeled that rawness into songs that felt like diary entries set to melody. Fans who packed arenas from Tokyo to Tampa connected viscerally, singing along to choruses that articulated their own hidden heartaches. Now, with the life of a showgirl, Swift invites her audience to dance through the recovery, to embrace the sequins as symbols of resilience. What makes this ritual particularly poignant is its solitude. In a life surrounded by teams of stylists, producers, and publicists, Swift carves out this unfiltered moment for herself. No cameras, no fanfare, just her, the music, and the memories it evokes. It's a reminder that artistry at its core is solitary work, even for someone whose voice unites millions. As she hit play on those familiar tracks, she likely replayed not just the songs but the stories behind them. Late-night writing sessions in tour buses, arguments hashed out in hotel rooms, reconciliations whispered under stadium lights. The Tortured Poets department captured a Swift who was unarmored, her vulnerabilities laid bare in lines that blurred the line between artist and confessor. Saying goodbye meant acknowledging that version of herself, brave, bruised but unbreakable, and stepping into the spotlight as the showgirl reborn. This practice also highlights Swift's reverence for her fans, the Swifties who dissect every lyric like sacred text. By ritually honoring past work, she models mindfulness in a fast-scrolling world, encouraging listeners to linger with albums rather than binge and discard. The Tortured Poets department topped charts for weeks, spawning viral TikToks and think pieces on modern heartbreak, but Swift's ritual ensures it doesn't fade into obscurity. Instead, it lives on as a foundational piece in her ever-expanding puzzle. As the life of a showgirl prepares to drop, anticipation builds around how this new era will unfold, perhaps with tour dates that blend cabaret flair and pop spectacle, or surprise drops that keep the internet abuzz. Whatever form it takes, Swift's ritual guarantees it's rooted in intention, a deliberate evolution rather than a reactive pivot.